The morning sun rose over New Horizon like it had for the past 10 years since humans first arrived, stood at the edge of her family's garden, watching the purple flowers sway in the gentle wind. These flowers only grew on this planet, and her mother loved them, was already up, working in the greenhouse that stood behind their small house. "Breakfast is ready," her mother called out. The 12-year-old girl ran back inside, her dark hair flying behind her. Life on New Horizon was simple and peaceful. They grew food, studied the local plants, and lived alongside 50 other families who had made this world their home. The Galactic Council had approved this colony, promising protection and support. Other alien species came by sometimes, trading goods or sharing knowledge. Everything seemed safe. But safety is often just an illusion. That afternoon, the sky changed. Dark shapes appeared above the clouds, moving fast and silent. Was helping her mother sort seeds when the alarm sirens began to scream. Dropped everything and grabbed her daughter's hand. "Run, get to the shelter," someone shouted outside. They ran toward the underground bunker at the center of the colony. Other families rushed alongside them, parents carrying small children, elderly people helped by neighbors. Fear filled the air like smoke. Nobody knew what was happening, but everyone understood danger when they felt it. The ships descended. They were not made of metal like human ships. These vessels looked alive, with surfaces that pulsed and moved like insect skin. They were nightmares, grown rather than built. The had arrived. Doors opened in the underbellies of the ships. Creatures dropped down on thin wings, landing with clicking sounds. They stood on 4 legs with 2 arms that ended in sharp claws. Their heads were triangular, covered in black armor plates, with multiple eyes that glowed a sickly green. They moved like a swarm, coordinated and efficient. And were only meters from the shelter when a warrior landed in front of them. It made a sound like grinding glass, and 2 more appeared on either side, pushed behind her. "Stay back," screamed at the creatures. The warrior tilted its head, studying them. Then it moved with terrible speed, tried to fight, throwing rocks, hitting with her fists, doing anything to protect her child. But they were strong, their armor too thick. One of them grabbed, lifting her off the ground despite her screams. Mom, help me." Lunged forward, grabbing her daughter's leg. She held on with everything she had, refusing to let go. A warrior struck her across the face and she fell hard to the ground. Blood ran from her nose. Her vision blurred, but she got up again, crawling toward where they held her daughter. "Let her go, take me instead, please." The warriors ignored her. They carried toward their ship along with other captured children. Human kids, but also children from other alien species that lived in nearby colonies. They were harvesting, taking the young and leaving the broken families behind. Fought and screamed, reaching out toward her mother. "Mom, don't let them take me, please." Ran after them, but more warriors blocked her path. She tried to push through, but they knocked her down again. She could only watch as they carried her daughter into the ship's mouth-like opening. The last thing she saw was terrified face looking back at her before the doors closed. The ships lifted off, silent and swift. In less than 10 minutes they were gone. They left behind crying families, damaged buildings, and a colony in shock. 23 children had been taken, 23 futures stolen. Sat in the dirt, staring at the empty sky. Her body hurt, but the pain in her chest was worse. Other parents gathered around, some crying, some silent with shock. The colony leaders came out from the shelter, trying to organize help, trying to make sense of what happened. 3 days later, representatives from the Galactic Council arrived. They were a species that looked like tall, gray-skinned humanoids with no hair and large black eyes. They spoke in calm, measured voices. "We are deeply sorry for your loss," the lead representative said. "The Empire has violated our treaties. We will file a formal protest." A protest stood up from where she sat with other parents. "They took our children. We need action, not paperwork." They looked uncomfortable. "They are powerful. They have 5 high queens, each commanding hundreds of worlds. Direct military action would result in war. The cost would be significant. "My daughter is worth any cost," shouted. The representative's face remained neutral. "We understand your emotions. Humans feel strongly about offspring, but you must understand the mathematics. 23 children versus billions of lives that could be lost in war. The Council cannot justify such risk." "Then you're cowards," another parent said. "We are practical," they replied. "They will likely assimilate your children into their workforce or military. They will survive. It is not ideal, but it is reality. We suggest you begin grief counseling and consider having more children. The Council will provide support for." Walked away. She couldn't listen to any more of this calculated cruelty disguised as logic. The other alien species thought differently than humans. They could accept losses, could calculate the worth of individual lives against larger populations. But humans couldn't, wouldn't. That night made a decision. If the Galactic Council wouldn't help, she would find someone who would. She used the colony's communication system to send a message to Earth's military command. The message was simple. "They took my daughter. The Council says she's not worth saving. Prove them wrong." 2 weeks passed. Had almost given up hope when a reply came. It wasn't from Earth's main military. It was from a special division, one that operated in the shadows. The message was brief. "We heard you. Someone is coming." 3 days later, a small ship landed outside the colony at night. One man stepped out. He wore dark combat gear with no unit markings. His face was hard, weathered by years of fighting. His eyes carried a weight that spoke of missions no one else wanted to take. "Met him at the landing pad. Are you here to help?" The soldier looked at her. I'm part of Deep Reconnaissance. We specialize in impossible missions." He paused. "Show me everything you know about the attack. Every detail matters." For the first time since was taken, felt something other than despair. She felt hope. This man wasn't offering sympathy or statistics. He was offering action. They talked through the night, described everything, the ships, the warriors, the direction they flew, recorded it all, asking sharp questions, building a picture in his mind. As dawn approached, he stood up. "I'll find her," he said simply. "How can you be sure?" Looked at the sunrise. "Because I won't stop until I do. That's what we humans do. We don't leave our people behind, no matter what the odds say." He walked back to his ship, watched him go, holding onto hope like a lifeline. She didn't know if she would ever see him again. She didn't know if this soldier could really challenge an empire. But she knew one thing: somewhere in the galaxy her daughter was waiting. And now someone was coming to bring her home. Ship cut through space like a knife through water. The vessel was small, designed for one person, built for stealth rather than combat. Inside the cramped cockpit, he studied star charts and intelligence reports. The Empire controlled a vast area of space, but its tracking signal had been detected heading toward the throne world of Queen. Most soldiers would call this mission suicide. The Empire had destroyed entire civilizations. Their warriors were bred for combat, their queens ancient and intelligent, but had seen impossible situations before. He had survived behind enemy lines for 8 months once, living on nothing but determination and stolen rations. Humans had something other species didn't understand. They could keep going long after logic said to quit. The first challenge was getting into space without being detected. Their sensor networks were extensive, watching for any military vessels. Solved this problem 3 days into his journey. He found a cargo hauler drifting near an asteroid field, damaged by what looked like a pirate attack. The crew was dead. Boarded the alien ship. The interior was disturbing. Everything looked organic, like walking inside a giant insect. The walls pulsed slightly, the floors felt soft and warm. He found the ship's navigation system, a blob of neural tissue connected to fiber-like wires. It responded to chemical signals rather than digital commands. He spent 2 days learning to pilot the ship. The process made him sick. The control interface required him to insert his hand into a wet opening that analyzed his nervous system. It hurt and it felt wrong, but it worked. The ship accepted him as a pilot and its identification codes were still valid. Transferred supplies to the vessel and set his own ship to self-destruct near the asteroid field. Anyone tracking him would think he died there. Then he headed deeper into enemy territory. The journey took weeks, passed through 3 star systems. Each one tested him differently. He had to dock at checkpoints where officials scanned his ship. The dead crew's identification held up, but barely. He survived on minimal food, taking stimulant injections that kept him alert but made his hands shake. Most species would have collapsed from the stress. His body screamed at him to rest, but his mind refused to stop. In the second system, he witnessed something that hardened his resolve. A processing station where captured beings were sorted like cargo. He watched through his ship's sensors as aliens of various species were categorized, some for labor, some for warrior conversion, some for the feeding chambers. Children were separated from adults. Their cries echoed across communication channels before they were silenced. Clenched his fists so hard his nails drew blood. He wanted to attack the station to free everyone inside, but that would end his mission. One soldier couldn't save everyone. He had to focus on finding. The thought of leaving others behind burned in his chest, but he forced himself to continue. He made contact with information brokers in the third system. These were outcasts, aliens who lived on the edges of space, trading secrets for survival. One of them, a 6-armed creature named, had information about the throne world. "You're human," observed, studying through multiple eyes. "Humans don't come here, too dangerous." "I need to know about Queen's compound," said, pushing credits across the table. Made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. "You want to go there? You're insane. Even the other queens fear. She's ancient, clever, and paranoid. Her palace is a fortress hive. Thousands of warriors guard it." "How do supplies get in?" Tilted its head. "You're serious?" The creature studied him for a long moment. "There are waste haulers, bio-refuse from the processing centers, disgusting work, mostly done by low-caste drones who don't know better. Can you get me the codes and routes? It will cost you everything you have." Didn't hesitate, deal. 5 days later, approached the throne world. The planet was covered in hive structures that looked like they grew from the ground itself. Massive towers of resin and bone stretched toward the sky. Ships moved between them like insects around a nest. From orbit, the world looked beautiful in a terrible way. Stolen ship landed at a waste processing facility on the planet's surface. He wore a biosuit he had purchased from, one designed for waste haulers. It covered his entire body, making him look like a drone. The suit smelled awful and moved awkwardly, but it would hide what he was. He joined a convoy of haulers heading into the main hive complex. The drivers never spoke to each other, just followed their routes automatically. Kept his head down, copying their movements. His heart pounded, but he forced himself to breathe slowly. This was the most dangerous part. If they discovered him now, it was over. The convoy entered through a loading bay that descended deep underground. The tunnels here were ancient, carved from living rock but coated in organic material. Bioluminescent fungi provided dim light. The air was thick and humid, hard to breathe. Suit had filters, but he could still taste something rotten. He broke away from the convoy at a junction, following the map had provided. The tunnels twisted and branched like blood vessels. He passed chambers where drones slept in clusters, their breathing synchronized. He saw nurseries where larvae grew in walls of mucus. He witnessed things that would give him nightmares for years. But he also found what he was looking for, the processing center. This was where captured beings were converted, their minds altered to serve the hive. Watch from ventilation shafts, observing the procedures, learning the patterns. Guards patrolled every hour. Scientists worked in shifts. The facility never truly slept, but it had quiet periods. During one observation shift saw her, was in a chamber with 20 other children of various species. She sat against a wall, her arms wrapped around her knees. She looked thinner than he remembered from her photos. Her eyes held an emptiness that children shouldn't have, but she was alive. She was still herself. They had begun conversion procedures on her. Small devices were attached to her neck and temples, slowly releasing chemicals meant to make her obedient to the hive. But something was wrong with the process. Realized what it was. Humans resisted the mind control better than other species. Their brains were too complex, too emotional, too stubborn to break easily. Hadn't given up. Even now, trapped in hell, she was fighting in the only way she could, by refusing to let go of who she was. Spent 3 days planning the extraction. He studied guard rotations, mapped escape routes, and prepared equipment. He had limited weapons, just a small plasma cutter and some explosives he had built from stolen materials. It wouldn't be enough for a prolonged fight. He would have to be fast, precise, and lucky. On the 3rd night during the facility's rest cycle, made his move. He cut through a wall panel and entered the processing chamber. The other children were sedated, but eyes opened when she heard movement. She saw a figure in a waste hauler suit approaching her. Fear filled her face. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. The devices on her neck prevented it. Removed his helmet. He whispered, "Your mother sent me, I'm taking you home." The girl stared at him, not believing what she heard. Then tears started falling down her face. Quickly removed the control devices from her body. She gasped as they came off, like she could finally breathe again. "Can you walk?" he asked. She nodded, though her legs shook. Helped her stand. He had to leave the other children behind for now. It killed him to do it, but saving one was better than losing everyone. He would come back for them if he could. They were almost to the exit when an alarm sounded. Someone had discovered the break-in. The alarm cut through the facility like a scream. Red bioluminescent lights pulsed in the walls, and heard the clicking sounds of warriors responding. He grabbed his hand and ran. The tunnels that had seemed empty minutes ago now filled with movement. Drones rushed past them, responding to the alarm. Pulled into a side passage, pressing against the organic wall. 3 warriors ran past without seeing them. The biosuit was still working, masking his heat signature. "Stay close to me," whispered. "Don't let go of my hand." Nodded, her eyes wide with fear but also hope. This stranger had come for her. Someone had actually come. They moved through the service tunnels, avoiding the main passages. His mental map guided them toward his hidden ship, but they had to cross through a drone barracks to reach it. He had no choice. The other routes would be sealed by now. The barracks was a massive chamber where hundreds of drones rested in wall cavities. Most were still asleep, but some were waking due to the alarm, and stayed low, moving between the sleeping forms. The girl tried not to look at the creatures. Their bodies twitched in sleep, mandibles clicking softly. They were halfway across when his foot caught on something. She stumbled, making a sound. A drone's eyes opened 3 meters away. It saw them. For one frozen moment, nobody moved. Then the drone screamed an alert. Instantly, the entire barracks came alive. Pulled forward, running now. Warriors dropped from their resting places, blocking their path. He threw one of his homemade explosives. It wasn't strong, but it created smoke and confusion. They couldn't see through it. Could. Humans had evolved to use smoke as a tool. Their eyes adapted. They broke through the smoke and into another tunnel. Behind them, warriors gave chase. Could hear their legs hitting the floor in synchronized rhythm like war drums. They were fast, faster than humans normally ran, but wasn't running normally. Adrenaline flooded his system, a human survival response that made him stronger, faster, more aggressive than he should be. A warrior leaped from a side passage, claws extended. Couldn't dodge while holding. He took the hit, the claws raking across his shoulder. Pain exploded through him, but he kept moving. He pulled his plasma cutter and swung it in a wide arc. The superheated blade cut through the warrior's neck. The creature fell. More warriors came, fought them with a brutality that surprised even himself. They were bred for combat, but they had never fought a human pushed to the edge. Humans didn't just fight to win. They fought with desperation, with emotion, with a refusal to accept death. Used the confined tunnel to his advantage, making the warriors come at him one at a time. Blood covered the walls. Some of it was green blood, some was red and human. His shoulder burned where he had been clawed. He was bleeding badly, but he couldn't stop. Needed him. They reached the waste disposal exit. This was the route had planned to use. His ship waited outside, hidden in a canyon 2 kilometers away. They just had to reach it. The exit door was sealed. Emergency lockdown. Set his last explosive against it and pulled back. The blast tore the door open, and they rushed through into the open air of the throne world. The sky was dark, filled with flying patrols. Searchlights swept the ground, carried now. She was exhausted and he was faster. His legs pumped, eating up distance. Behind them, warriors poured from the facility. Some had wings and took to the air. His body screamed at him. The claw wound in his shoulder, bled freely. His muscles burned from the stimulants and exertion. His lungs felt like they were on fire. A normal person would have collapsed, but humans had evolved as persistence hunters, creatures that could run prey to exhaustion, channeled that ancient heritage now. A flying warrior dove at them, ducked, and it missed by centimeters. Another came from the side. He threw forward and rolled, coming up with a stolen weapon. He fired, hitting the creature mid-flight. It crashed to the ground. The canyon was ahead, just 500 more meters, 400, 300. Something massive landed in front of them, shaking the ground. It was larger than any warrior had seen. Standing 3 meters tall, covered in thick armor plates with 4 arms that ended in blade-like claws. An elite guard. The creature made a sound like grinding stones. "Set down behind him. Run to the canyon when I say," he whispered. The elite guard attacked with blinding speed, barely dodged the first strike. The second caught him in the ribs, sending him flying. He hit the ground hard, tasting blood. The creature advanced, confident in its superiority. Forced himself up. Pain didn't matter anymore. Nothing mattered except buying time to reach the ship. He attacked not with technique but with raw aggression, fighting like a cornered animal. The elite guard was stronger and better armed, but it wasn't ready for an opponent who refused to acknowledge when they were beaten. They traded blows, took more damage, but he gave some too. The guard's armor cracked under his strikes. It made sounds of confusion. Why wasn't this soft creature dying? Had reached the canyon edge. Saw her start climbing down. Good, he just needed a few more seconds. The elite guard grabbed him by the throat, lifting him off the ground. Its mandibles opened, ready to bite his head off. Pulled his plasma cutter one last time and drove it into the creature's neck joint, the one weak spot in its armor. The blade went deep. The guard dropped him, stumbling backward. Green blood sprayed. It fell to its knees, then collapsed. Didn't wait. He ran to the canyon and climbed down. His ship was there, camouflaged against the rock face, was already inside, waiting. He threw himself into the pilot's seat and fired the engines. The ship lifted off as warriors arrived at the canyon edge. They fired weapons, but the ship's shields held, pushed the throttles to maximum, racing toward space. Alarms screamed as patrol ships gave chase. They broke atmosphere. The throne world's orbital defenses activated, tracking them, had one trick left. He released a cloud of sensor-jamming particles, an old human military technique. It confused the tracking systems for precious seconds. But they weren't clear yet. A massive ship appeared ahead of them, blocking their escape vector. It was a royal carrier, the personal vessel of a queen. Its weapons powered up, and a communication channel opened. A voice spoke, ancient and powerful. Human vessel, you will stop your engines and return what you have stolen. Saw something through his cockpit window that made his blood run cold. The carrier's main bay was opening, and inside stood a figure that made the elite guard look small. Queen herself had come. The Queen's voice came again, but this time speaking directly to him. You have impressed me, human soldier. You have accomplished what should have been impossible, but your journey ends here. My warriors surround you. You cannot escape. Return the child and I will grant you a quick death. Looked at, the girl stared back at him, terrified but trusting. He had promised her mother he would bring her home. He had promised himself he wouldn't fail. But staring at a queen and her army, even his determination seemed small. Then he remembered something his training instructor had once said. When you can't win by strength, win by making them doubt. Opened a communication channel. Queen, I want to speak with you, face to face. If you're so powerful, surely you're not afraid of one human soldier. There was silence. Then surprisingly the Queen laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. You wish to negotiate, you have nothing to bargain with. I have something you want, said, and you have something I want. Let's talk about it. Unless you prefer your warriors to see their queen hiding behind weapons instead of facing a single soldier. Another pause, then the Queen spoke again. Very well, human, come to my carrier. Bring the child, we will talk. The hangar bay of Queen's carrier was vast enough to hold 50 ships. Small vessel looked like a toy as it landed on the organic floor. Through the cockpit window, he could see hundreds of warriors lining the walls, their weapons trained on him. In the center of it all stood the Queen. She was massive, nearly 4 meters tall. Her body was covered in armor plates that looked like they had grown naturally over centuries. She had 6 arms, each one capable of tearing a human apart. Her head was crowned with horn-like protrusions, and her multiple eyes glowed with intelligence. This was a creature that had lived for thousands of years, that had conquered entire civilizations. This is suicide, whispered. She sat in the co-pilot seat, small and scared. Checked his weapons. He had almost nothing left. One half-charged plasma cutter and a combat knife. Against an army, they were useless, but he hadn't come this far to surrender now. Stay behind me, he said, no matter what happens. They exited the ship together. The hangar bay fell silent. Warriors watched with their unblinking eyes as the human soldier walked toward their queen, holding the hand of a human child. His shoulder still bled from the claw wounds. His ribs were cracked. Every step hurt, but he kept his back straight and his head high. Queen studied them as they approached. Her mandibles moved slightly, tasting the air. You smell of blood and fear, she said. Her voice echoed in the vast space. Yet you walk toward me with confidence. Interesting. Stopped 10 meters from her, pressed against his leg, hiding partially behind him. He could feel her shaking. I'm Sergeant of Earth's military, he said. His voice was steady despite everything. I came to take this child home to her mother. I know who you are, the Queen replied. My intelligence network reported a human operating in my territory. We thought it was impossible. One soldier against an empire. Yet here you stand, having penetrated my most secure facility, having killed dozens of my warriors, having stolen what belongs to me. She doesn't belong to you. She's a free person. The Queen's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Free. There is no such thing. All beings belong to something. A hive, a nation, a purpose. This child will serve my empire. She will become part of something greater than herself. She already is something greater, said. She's herself, that's enough. Philosophy from a dying soldier, the Queen said. Tell me, human, do you truly believe you can leave this ship alive? My warriors wait for my command to tear you apart. Maybe not, admitted. But I've noticed something about your empire. You value efficiency. You calculate costs and benefits, so let me tell you what killing me will cost. The Queen tilted her head, curious. Speak. Took a breath. This was the gamble. Everything depended on making her understand. I'm not special among humans. I'm a soldier, yes, trained and experienced. But there are thousands like me, tens of thousands, each one willing to do what I did, each one willing to cross an empire to bring home one of our children. One child is not worth such effort, the Queen stated. The mathematics are clear. That's where you're wrong, said. You think in terms of the collective, the hive. To you, individuals are just parts of a whole, replaceable, but humans think differently. Every single one of us matters. Every child is worth everything. He stepped forward, ignoring the weapons that tracked him. You took 23 human children from New Horizon. If you keep them, more soldiers will come. They'll sabotage your facilities. They'll rescue our people. They'll make operating in or near human space so expensive, so dangerous that you'll lose more than you gain. One of me caused this much damage. Imagine 100, 1,000. The Queen was silent for a long moment. Her warriors shifted nervously. They had never heard anyone speak to their queen this way. You threaten me? She finally asked. No, said. I'm explaining reality. You're ancient and intelligent. You understand strategic thinking. So ask yourself, is harvesting humans worth making an enemy that will never stop coming? Other species accept losses and move on. Humans don't. We can't. It's not in our nature. The Queen moved closer. Her shadow fell over and, I could kill you now, make an example of you, show your species what happens to those who defy me. You could, agreed. But that won't stop the next one, or the one after that. Kill me and you prove my point. You prove that humans are willing to die to protect our own. That's not a weakness, Your Majesty. That's a warning. The hangar bay was absolutely silent. Even the warriors seemed to hold their breath. This was unprecedented. A prey species lecturing a queen. Tugged on's hand. She was crying quietly, overwhelmed by everything. But she trusted him. This man had walked through hell for her. He had fought an empire. He was still fighting, even though he could barely stand. The Queen looked down at the child. Tell me, small one, why is this soldier so important to you? He's not your parent. He didn't know you before today. Swallowed hard. When she spoke, her voice was tiny but clear. He came for me. Nobody else did. Even the Galactic Council said I wasn't worth saving, but he came anyway. That's what humans do. Something changed in the Queen's expression. It was subtle, hard to read on her alien features, but saw it. Understanding, maybe even respect. I have ruled for 3,000 years, the Queen said slowly. I have seen species rise and fall. I have conquered worlds and destroyed civilizations. I have calculated 1,000,000 strategies and won 1,000 wars, but I have never encountered a species quite like yours. She turned away from them, facing her warriors. You fight with emotion instead of logic. You value individuals over the collective. You refuse to accept defeat even when mathematics proves you should. These things should make you weak. In theory, they do make you weak. She turned back. But theory is not reality. In reality, you are something else. You are unpredictable, dangerous in ways that don't appear in calculations. One of you caused more damage to my facilities than entire rebel fleets. If all humans are like this, she trailed off. Waited, his hand moved to his knife, ready for whatever came next. If she decided to kill them, he would fight to the last breath. He wouldn't die quietly. But the Queen surprised him. I am releasing you, she said. You and the child will leave. My warriors will not pursue you. Didn't move. What about the other children you took? Not just humans, all of them. The Queen's eyes narrowed. You push your luck, soldier. Those kids have families too, parents who are crying for them. Maybe those parents aren't human, maybe they won't send soldiers to get them back. But they're suffering. You can end that suffering. Show the galaxy that you're not just a conqueror but also wise enough to choose your battles. The Queen was silent for a very long time. Finally, she spoke to one of her commanders. Release all juvenile captives from the last harvest, all species. Return them to their home worlds. The commander made a sound of protest, but one look from the Queen silenced it. "You're making a mistake," the Queen said too. "By letting you succeed, I'm encouraging other species to resist. This will cost me." "Maybe," said, "or maybe you're avoiding a bigger cost. Time will tell." The Queen leaned down until her face was level with his. "I want you to deliver a message to your species, human. Tell them that the Empire will remember this. Tell them we will avoid human space from now on, not because we fear you, but because you are not cost-effective prey. But also tell them this. If humans ever threaten our core worlds, if they push too far, we will respond with full force. This mercy I show today is strategic, not weakness." "I'll tell them," said. "Good," the Queen straightened up. "Now leave before I change my mind." Didn't need to be told twice. He picked up, who wrapped her arms around his neck and walked back to his ship. Every warrior watched them go. None moved to stop them. It felt surreal, like walking through a dream. As they reached the ship, the Queen called out one more time. "Sergeant, you asked me earlier if I feared you. A single soldier. The answer is no. But what you represent, an entire species that thinks like you, that possibility concerns me greatly. Go home, protect your people, and pray we never meet as true enemies." The journey home took 3 weeks. Ship limped through space, its systems damaged from the escape. He spent the first few days recovering from his wounds. The claw marks on his shoulder had gotten infected, and he had to treat them with supplies from his medical kit. His ribs hurt with every breath, but he was alive, and more importantly, so was. The girl barely spoke for the first week. She sat in the co-pilot seat, staring out at the stars, her mind still processing everything that had happened. She had nightmares every night, waking up screaming about the hive, about the conversion chambers, about thinking she would never see home again. Would wake her gently and sit with her until she fell back asleep. On the 8th day, she finally talked. "Why did you come for me?" she asked quietly. Looked up from the navigation console. "Your mother asked me to." "But you didn't know me. I'm just some kid. You could have died." "Yes," he said simply, "but that's what humans do. We don't leave our people behind." "The other aliens don't think like that," said. "The Galactic Council said I wasn't worth the risk, that my life didn't matter compared to billions." "They're wrong," said firmly. "Every life matters. Yours matters. Those other kids who were taken with you, their lives matter. The Council thinks in numbers. They forgot that behind every number is a person, someone's child, someone's friend, someone who deserves to go home." Was quiet for a while. Then she asked, "Did you rescue the others too, the other kids from the processing center?" His expression grew sad. "The Queen ordered them released. They should be returning home now. I couldn't save them myself, but maybe our confrontation helped." "You did save them," said softly. "By saving me, you showed her that humans won't give up. That made her let everyone go." Hadn't thought about it that way. Maybe the girl was right. Maybe one rescue had sparked something bigger. As they traveled, taught basic ship operations. It gave her something to focus on besides her trauma. She learned to read star charts, to monitor the engines, to perform simple maintenance. She was smart and picked things up quickly. By the 2nd week, she was helping him pilot. "What will happen to you when we get back?" asked one day. "I'll probably be in trouble," admitted. "I went against orders, invaded another empire's space, started a diplomatic incident." "That's not fair. You saved me." He smiled slightly. "Sometimes doing the right thing isn't the same as following the rules. I knew the risks when I accepted your mother's request. I'd make the same choice again." On the 20th day, they received a communication from Earth's military command. Was ordered to report directly to headquarters upon arrival. His commanding officer's face was stern on the video screen. "Sergeant, you have a lot of explaining to do." "Yes, sir," replied. But there was also another message, this one from New Horizon. It was from, her face appeared on the screen, hope and fear mixed in her expression. "Is she alive? Please, tell me she's alive." moved aside so the camera could see. Mother and daughter saw each other for the first time in 2 months. Both started crying immediately. Mom sobbed, "I'm okay, I'm coming home." "Oh, my baby's voice broke. "I thought I'd never see you again." They talked for an hour until the signal was too weak to continue. But it was enough. It gave them both hope to hold onto for the final stretch of the journey. 3 weeks after leaving the throne world, ship entered New Horizons orbit. The colony had prepared for their arrival. A landing pad was cleared, and what looked like the entire settlement had gathered to witness the return. As the ship descended, could see them all waiting. Stood at the front, her hands clasped together, tears already streaming down her face. Other families were there too, parents of the children who had been taken. They had received word that their kids were being returned by the Empire. The first transport ship had arrived yesterday. Today, they witnessed the soldier who had made it all possible. The ship touched down gently, opened the hatch and practically flew down the ramp. Mom, I'm back," she screamed. "He saved me." Ran forward and caught her daughter in her arms. They both collapsed to the ground, holding each other, sobbing. My baby," repeated over and over. "You're home. You're really home." Buried her face in her mother's shoulder. "I thought I'd never see you again. They were going to change me, make me forget who I was, but I remembered you. I held on to you every day." Stood at the bottom of the ramp watching the reunion. His mission was complete. That's all that mattered. Other families approached him, thanking him, touching his shoulder, blessing him. Their children had come home because of what he had done. An elderly man whose grandson had been taken gripped his hand firmly. "You gave us back hope," he said. "The galaxy told us to give up, to accept our loss. You showed them what humans are capable of." Later, after the celebration had died down, approached, held her hand tightly, not ready to be separated from her mother yet. Looked at the soldier, trying to find words adequate to express her gratitude. Finally, she just hugged him. "Thank you," she whispered. "You gave me back my reason for living. How can I ever repay you?" "You already have," said quietly. "By being there for your daughter, by never giving up on her. That's all the payment I need." "Will you stay?" asked. "Have dinner with us, let us properly thank you." Looked uncomfortable. "I should report to my superiors. I'm already in enough trouble." "Please," said, "just for a little while, I want to show you my home. The real home, not the prison they kept me in." He couldn't refuse that request. They walked to his house together, the same house that had been taken from 2 months ago. It looked exactly as she remembered it. Her room was untouched, had kept everything exactly the same, hoping her daughter would return. They sat at the dinner table, eating simple food that tasted better than anything had eaten in weeks. Talked about her experience, processing it by sharing. She talked about the fear, the confusion, the moment she had almost given up. And then about seeing appear in that chamber, offering hope when she thought none existed. "I didn't think humans could do that," she said. "Go against an empire alone. The other species always talk about how weak we are, how emotional and illogical, but you weren't weak." "Humans are emotional," agreed. "But emotions aren't weakness. They're what make us strong when logic says to quit. Love, hope, determination, these things push us beyond our limits." As the sun set, stood up to leave, hugged him tightly. "Will I see you again?" "Maybe," he said. "The galaxy is smaller than you think." He walked back to his ship as darkness fell. Other colonists waved to him, calling out thanks. He nodded but didn't stop. His work here was done. Tomorrow he would face military tribunal for his actions. He might be court-martialed, dishonorably discharged, or even imprisoned, but he didn't regret any of it. As his ship lifted off, he looked down at New Horizon one last time. He saw, and standing outside their house, waving up at him. A mother and daughter together again. That made everything worth it. The ship climbed toward the stars, set course for Earth, ready to face whatever came next. But he also thought about the future. The Queen had marked human space as high risk for the other species had noticed what happened. Word was spreading through the galaxy that humans were not prey to be taken lightly. His communication system beeped. 3 new messages, all from other colonies, other families whose children had been taken by different alien empires, all asking the same thing: can you help us? Looked at the messages for a long time. He was one man. He was exhausted, injured, and about to be court-martialed. He couldn't save everyone. It wasn't logical or reasonable to try. But he also thought about face when she saw her mother again. He thought about those other families, holding on to hope despite what logic told them. He thought about what it meant to be human, to care when caring seemed foolish, to try when trying seemed impossible, to believe that every single life mattered. He opened the first message and began to read. Already, he was planning his next mission, because that's what humans did. They didn't abandon their own. They didn't calculate the odds and decide someone wasn't worth saving. They pushed forward, driven by something deeper than reason. In the darkness of space, smiled slightly. The galaxy was learning an important lesson. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology, their fleets, or their weapons. It was their absolute refusal to leave anyone behind. And that was a force more powerful than any empire. Queen had been right to be concerned, because the truth was simple and terrifying. If you took a human's child, they would come for you. One soldier, one parent, one person who refused to accept defeat. They would cross the galaxy, fight impossible odds, and challenge empires. Not because it made sense, but because that's what humans were. And the galaxy was finally beginning to understand what that meant.